Bremen Community High School District 228 Board of Education to order. Roll call, please.
Mr. Brown.
Here.
Mr. Canning.
Here.
Mrs. Gleason.
Here.
Mrs. Jones. Pastor Menzing is here. Mrs. Stearns.
Here.
Mr. Curtin.
Here. Let's rise for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'm looking for a motion to approve the minutes of November 18th, open and closed session. So moved.
Second.
Brown, second by Mrs. Gleason. Any discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Brown.
Aye.
Mrs. Gleason.
Aye.
Mr. Canning.
Aye.
Mrs. Jones. Pastor Menzing, aye. Mrs. Stearns. Mr. Curtin.
I'm looking for a motion to approve the December 8th open and closed session minutes. By Pastor Menzing, second by Mr. Brown. Any discussion? Roll call.
Pastor Menzing, aye. Mr. Brown.
Aye.
Mr. Canning.
Aye.
Mrs. Gleason.
Aye.
Mrs. Stearns.
Aye.
Mr. Curtin.
Aye. Board Recognition Award.
All right, good evening, everybody. Sorry about the little flag issue. We have lots of them on the tables. Our second shift supervisor is actually at home taking care of his newborn twin daughters.
Whoa.
So I guess we have some flags on the table and some back in the corner. Oh yeah, we could have decorated the Christmas trees in my life. But tonight, this is actually a recognition from Lincoln Park High School, but I think I can speak for my fellow counterparts when I say all of the schools in District 228. So if I could ask Troy Bettenhausen to come up and join me. You know, it was, I would say, late August that John Doolin from Bettenhausen, Fiat and Alfa Romeo now, contacted me and asked if we would be interested in somehow choosing to incorporate a customized logoed Fiat within our athletic events, any kind of activities, and just kind of make it part of our school community. How do you say no to a car? I mean, it's one of those things that I was kind of like, okay, and what's the catch? And he said, well, there's no catch, just use it and you know, make sure people see it and kids see it and parents see it, and you kind of make it, again, part of your school community. Kind of a hard thing to say no to. So what I told John was, you know, well, of course, yes, but I have 3 other principals that are going to be pretty jealous because I don't know of anybody that would pass up this opportunity. And so they were quick to say, well, then how about we do it for the entire district? And again, kind of, you know, if my mouth wasn't already open the first time around, to hear that the second time around, they got me a third time with, in addition to delivering these just little cards, and I know you guys have seen them because we've used them in many different occasions throughout the season. They also gave each of the 4 schools a check for $500 on top of that. So these cards have kind of become a little bit about who we are, and people look for them and people see them on the street, and I think everybody thinks I'm driving it all the time because they'll say, hey, I saw you in the Fiat, I saw you in the Fiat. But they've been in parades, they've been at athletic events, we've used them for fundraisers, we've used them for food drives, we've used them for photo opportunities. Kids like to get their pictures taken in front of the cars. And we definitely have more plans as the year unfolds. So I think it goes without saying that we were just waiting our turn to host the board meeting to appropriately say thank you to Troy, his brother Mike, and John Doolin from Bettenhausen Fiat right down the street. So at this point in time, we'd like to go ahead and, oh, well, I think we're taking pictures first.
I'd like to say we're very pleased to partner with the school district and everything. Had a great partnership, and like give back to the community. It was probably 20-some years ago.
20, a couple like 20. I know you're older than I am. Yeah, I know. Mike, Troy, and Brad, and then their younger sister all are Titan graduates. So the fact that they're running very successful businesses right here in our local community and giving back to our schools. We couldn't be happier.
Well, Finley, right?
Absolutely. There you go.
Thank you very much.
On behalf of the Board of Education, I present the award to you because you have helped to provide a positive learning environment for the students of District 228 by the time and talents and fiats you've shared. As somebody who grew up in Tinley Park during the 50s and 60s, I know the Benton Housings have been part of the fabric of this community for well over 100 years. And so I'm very pleased to give you this award.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Moving on, good news report.
All right. I'd like to present to you guys Eric Daisy, who will be representing the Titans for the Good News Report.
Good evening, welcome to the park, and I like to call it my stage, my home in the audience here. We'll start with something a little strange. One of my personal friends, Deslin Garnica, she's a senior, 5'2", and she's a senior, and usually this is our academic portion, but she actually competed in a bodybuilding competition earlier this month. And I had my Spanish class with her, and personally watching her every day pull out her grilled chicken and her big bowl of broccoli that, you know, she had to cut out her bread, she had to cut out her Snickers bars, which I don't know how she did. But she actually ended up taking 4th place at this competition in Rockford earlier this month, which is, they had, I'm sure, people much older and much more, have a lot more free time than her. So yeah, that just thought that was a really cool one. And then we also had our band and choir students were selected for the ILMPA festival. Mitch Canning, Emily Grum, Alex Quattrini, Julia Beck, and Kyla Kelly. And they were all chosen for their respective fields. And then also one of my personal friends, Lindsay Landon, one of the stars of our varsity volleyball team, has verbally committed to Concord University in West Virginia, so we look forward to seeing her future success as a mountain lion. And then our varsity bowling team continues again with their amazing success, led by Nick Schubert, who bowls perfect games like they're nothing. And then also Matt Eggert, he had a perfect frame up until the 10th frame, and then he lost it just a little bit, but he bowled a 277, and we were able to beat Revis earlier this month in December. And then in the holiday spirit, our Titan staff, just with Dr. Nolan sending out a simple email to all of our staff, we were able to substantially help out 2 families in the Tinley Park area, one of a wounded war veteran and one of a family with someone with a terminal illness. And we were able to raise nearly $2,000 in goods and money and foods for them to make their holidays bright and happy. And I wish you guys a happy holiday. Thank you.
Thank you, Eric.
Good evening. We're going to do a little bit of a different thing. We're not going to just read from the report today. We actually have 2 students here, Taylor Adway and Asia Thurman, who are going to come up and present. They actually worked with Mrs. Sweeney's class to present a one-day restaurant. So they're going to tell you about their experience with that one-day cafe.
Good
evening, everyone. My name is Taylor Adway. I'm a senior at Hillcrest High School, and I would like to tell you about this great event that happened at Hillcrest this month. I'm currently enrolled in the culinary management class at Hillcrest. And on Friday, December 5th, our class implemented a one-day restaurant named A Taste of Italy. We featured numerous Italian cuisine, which included starters, entrees, and desserts. We offered seating times during 3rd, 5th, and 7th periods, which allowed our guests to dine comfortably and for us to reflect on success and necessary concentrations that we needed to fix for our next service. That day, we served over 70 guests. All semester, we have been working towards implementing a one-day restaurant with our class. The participation for this event included testing recipes, along with testing those recipes again, costing recipes, designing a comfortable restaurant atmosphere from our event has been overwhelming. Diners were provided surveys to complete for feedback on their dining experience. We received comments such as this is the best event that I had at Hillcrest this year. I hope we will do this again. Excellent, wonderful, really classy in here. It was really nice. What a great experience for our customers and students. Can we come back? Fantastic, awesome experience. This was an outstanding dining experience. Thank you. Excellent and professional service, and bravo. All the positive feedback has made the challenging process of running a one-day restaurant all worth it. Each one of the members of our class were able to choose which part of the restaurant they wanted to work in. Either front of the house, which the customer's contact is, or the back of the house, where all the food preparation took place. A lender for each location was chosen based on student experience and abilities. I myself was in charge of the back of the house and given the responsibility of the executive chef. I was able to fine-tune recipes and lead a team of cooks to prepare the recipes. Each and every student contributed to the overall success of this event. As executive chef, I learned that back of the house can be a very stressful atmosphere. But if you are well prepared, communicate effectively, and highly organized, it can run very smoothly. I look forward to the next one-day restaurant next semester. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Asia Thurman. I'm a junior at Hillcrest High School. I was the pastry chef for the one-day restaurant. I worked with 2 other students preparing 4 different delicious desserts, including New York style cheesecake, tiramisu, chocolate chip with cookie sundae, and a pastry puff filled with pastry cream topped with fresh fruit. Each dessert was tested weeks prior to the event for flavor and proper presentation technique. The opportunity to put on a one-day restaurant brought real-world experiences into our classroom. This was an awesome experience for all of us. We learned how to work together. It was much more than we could have learned from a book. The interactions that went on that day were very hands-on. What we would encounter were in the real world. No matter if you worked in front of the house or in the back of the house, everyone grew in some way from the experiences of that day. At the end of our first seating, we gathered around to go over what went wrong and what went right, and each time, the second time, the third time, to really, we put together everything to make things better for the next restaurant. And everything went smoothly. Everyone was very receptive to the positive feedback and constructive changes that needed to be made to make our restaurant run better. Everyone had an opportunity to provide ideas and input. We bonded together to solve issues at hand. We were very able to see the results of changes we made at the next service. By 7th period, our last service, we were performing as if we had a lot of experience. After reflecting on the days of the events, some of my classmates shared the following. This was a good experience. We learned so much about food service. It was It was a very good experience learning how to expedite food orders. I learned how to get along with my teammates to work together and accomplish goals. A restaurant is fun, but it can be very stressful. It showed me how to deal with customers and serve others. I learned that you have to be patient. No matter what happens, you have to expect it and respect it. The restaurant business is very hectic and stressful, but I enjoy meeting people's needs. As you can see from my classmates' reflections, each one of us gained hands-on knowledge of what it takes to be a part of a restaurant. Organization, hard work, and great communication skills, and a lot of patience. Thank you for giving us the opportunity to share experiences with you, and we hope you join us next semester for another Hillcrest one-day restaurant.
I was one of those bad customers. I signed up for 3rd, but didn't make it to 7th. Did have it down by 7th.
Good evening. Representing Oak Forest High School today is Joe Muller. He's going to speak a little bit about his experience with Gigi's Playhouse, a group that we have a partnership with.
Okay, to start off, if you guys don't know about Gigi's Playhouse very much, it's a house for individuals with Down syndrome, and we're fortunate enough to have it located in Oak Forest. I know one of my close friends, a member of the football team and the wrestling team, James Crusetto. His mom does a lot there, and his younger sister is a member that goes there. And it kind of started off this day. Our coaches were coming around and saying, hey, can you please show up on this Sunday? It'd be very nice of you. And then I kind of started spreading to the kids, like, hey, what are you doing Sunday? Oh, I'm going to Gigi's. Come with me. And then eventually Sunday came. I showed up at 9 o'clock, and first off, you couldn't even get in the parking lot. It was packed. And it was a really cool atmosphere because it was all kids you know. It consisted of pretty much the whole football team, basketball team, girls and boys, wrestling team, I think the baseball team was there, and they had 4 trucks there to move. And I just remember walking up, there were lines of 25 people each of the 4 trucks. You had to wait 15 minutes even to carry something to the house. And it was just a really cool experience because it was a bunch of kids just trying to help out, and we all knew each other, and all our coaches there, we got to see our coaches outside of school in a family type of atmosphere. And it was just a really nice experience seeing everybody. We got to help out.
And you volunteer there too, right?
Yeah, I was there. I've been to G's Playhouse about 10 times. I know in the past, our football teams helped with their grand opening with parking. And it's a really cool environment there. A lot of times, just a group of guys would go up there on Sunday and help out. And I know, especially around Christmas time, we went last year and helped make ornaments. And it's really cool to go there and see what it's all about. It was a good time.
Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. I'd like to introduce Senior Dakari Bass to give a little good news about Bremen High School. Dakari's going to go to Milliken next year. He's pretty excited about it.
All right, good evening, everyone. First off, we have Bremen High School's AP U.S. History program led by Mr. Johnson and sponsored by the Key Club, and Mr. Dyke participated in the annual Letters to Santa program. As part of the program, students in the neighborhood purchased gifts for specific students in Adrian Davis Elementary in Chicago based on their letters to Santa. The students personally delivered the gifts and spent the morning reading and completing activities with their sponsored class family. Congratulations to the National Honor Society and Student Council for once again collecting and donating nearly 12,000 pounds of food to local food pantries. This is a great effort put on by everyone in the school. Bremen High School's band and choir performed in Central Park, Colmar, and Keller Middle Schools on Friday, December 5th, 2014. They performed a wide variety of music with an emphasis on holiday classics. On Saturday, December 6th, the Bremen High School marching band, along with administrators, teachers, students, and cheerleaders, participated in the annual Mid-Opening Winter Parade. The varsity boys basketball team started their season strong by capturing the championship title at the Bremen Thanksgiving Tournament. The Braves went 3-0 in the tournament. The Braves' overall record is now 4-1 and are defeated in conference play. The Bremen cheerleaders recently captured first place at Crystal Lake Central Invitational. These are some of the things currently going on right now at Bremen High School, and remember, we always have pride.
All right, we're gonna keep on rolling here. Yes, you will have. If this first row wants to come and take these couples, don't worry, they won't see it. Speaking of getting an email, our physics teacher, Jim Burrell, sent Wendy Bumpus and I an email that says, hey, I'd like to look into getting some students to work with this partnership with Argonne National Laboratory. What do you think? And I mean, again, kind of like somebody calling up and saying, hey, how about a free fiat? How do you say no to your teacher wanting to work with some of your finest students in a partnership with Argonne National Laboratory? So hats off to Jim Burrell, our teacher, for coordinating this effort, and the students are here to share a little bit about what they're doing with Argonne.
Good evening. My name is Elizabeth Klimek, and we come to you today to speak about the ESRP project, otherwise known as the Exemplary Student Research Program. Our group presented a proposal to Argonne National Laboratory to allow us to use their facility and work with one of their scientists. The goal of our project is to find ways to use fly ash, a byproduct of petroleum coke which is hard to dispose of. This is something that is very important to us and to our environment to reduce and reuse this waste in productive ways, such as in construction and chemical compounds. Our project is made possible by our Argonne research mentor, Dr. Volker Rose, and our wonderful physics teacher, Mr. Burrell. Our group members include Abigail Zatkalik, Brendan Kelly, David Kavalauskas, myself, and Joe Moeller and Kevin Conley. Our trip to Argonne was an exciting experience. With Dr. Volker Rose as our guide, we were able to take a long tour and research more about the equipment and facilities at Argonne. We learned about their world-renowned advanced photon source and how it works. The advanced photon source at Argonne provides one of the world's brightest storage ring-generated X-ray beams for research in almost all scientific disciplines. Dr. Rose also helped us prepare the proposal for our experiment to the Argonne Board of Directors.
So you may be thinking, what is fly ash? But fly ash is a byproduct of burning coal. It's created by dirty smoke trapped in pollution catching machines. It is the most abundant industrial product, with 4.4 million tons being produced in Illinois each year. Currently, it's used as a substitute for Portland cement. The main concern with fly ash is that it contains chromium-6, which is a suspected carcinogen that may prove to be harmful if consumed. This is a problem as 17 coal plants in Illinois dispense fly ash into the Mississippi, Chicago, and Illinois rivers. Fly ash is also stored in 83 different ash ponds among Illinois, and the contaminated water from the ponds seeps into the groundwater from which our drinking water is.
Fly ash can be used as a geopolymer in the use of concrete. It acts as a bonding agent in the process of cement making and is a good substitute to the traditional components of concrete. Fly ash as a geopolymer hardens much quicker. It also shrinks less, which grants that it won't create so much stress in the concrete, causing it to have less cracks and leakage over time. When fly ash is used in concrete, created is 8 times stronger than Portland cement due to shrinkage. Because this has proven to be such a good component in concrete making, we can improve the economy of the cement business and eliminate some of the environmental concerns that fly ash creates. We propose to start our research by getting donations of fly ash from local coal plants. Following, we will test the components in the fly ash to discover other ways in which we might use this byproduct in construction materials and possible other uses. After conducting this research, we will prepare a report for our findings for the Argonne Board of Directors. As a result, our data and conclusions can help to decrease the environmental concerns and recycle the stockpiling fly ash that is contaminating our waters.
So through our experiment, we hope to pinpoint how much chromium is in the fly ash geopolymer and where it's located. And ultimately, we hope the results show that it is a more environmentally friendly alternative to reduce the CO2 that's produced from regular concrete. And then we've received tremendous amounts of support from teachers and administration, and we'd like to thank them in advance for their continued support. So thank you.
You can't run away, the superintendent's got a question.
One question. Where did you get this idea?
Well, I know I heard my father talking about different, like fly ash. I know Mr. Burrell, he was talking about it because we were initially going to look at paint samples and see if there was any lead still in paint. But then we changed our focus to a local problem, and we thought that the fly ash would be something really close to home, something interesting that we were all concerned about. So we changed our focus.
I didn't even know about fly ash. Now I'm concerned about it.
Do you already know that it works like it does with the cement?
Well,
That's
it
not
is
a
all-
theory, that's something you already know.
David?
So basically, we know that normal concrete is, as it is, it's strong enough, but with the Flyash infused in it, so far it's been durable enough and tested a little bit longer. We just don't know if the Flyash itself is basically harmful for the environment yet, because it has been produced for that long.
I want to know what you guys think of Argonne Laboratory itself. I went there in college with my chemistry course. It was awesome. What do you guys think?
It was amazing and it was huge and it was very interesting to see all of the equipment there and to meet some of the scientists.
That's pretty cool.
Do we know how much is wasted compared to how much is actually used for the percentage?
Oh, I know that 4.4 million is produced in Illinois alone. I don't know the exact percentage totals on how much is actually going into concrete or how much is dumped like into the plant.
Is that part of the research that's going on?
We're looking more at the chromium in the concrete to see if it's actually an environmentally friendly substitute for real cement, because we're trying to reduce CO2 hopefully and see that it's friendly and it's not going to cause problems with the chromium in the concrete.
Has anyone at Argonne ever had this test come before them before?
Yes, they've done one experiment on Flyash from Australia. We're trying to look at more local sources to see if Flyash here in Illinois is suitable as well.
Very good.
Mr. Mensing, have we received any comments from the public?
I have received no requests, Mr. Chairman.
We'll move on to the superintendent's report.
A Freedom of Information Act request since our last board meeting. Ms. Caitlin Laboff of DCA Education Services in Tennessee requested union contracts and termination dates pertaining to facilities and maintenance services. This request has been completed. Ms. Shava Landau of Interborough Packaging Services in New York requested the 2014 custodial supply bid tabulation, including award price for each item and the contract that was awarded each item. This request has been completed. Dr. Vincent Miles of Champaign, Illinois requested closing records for each debt issuance from January 1, 1984 through December 3rd, 2014. This request is being processed. Mr. George Gross of Midlothian requested copies of all completed forms and supporting documents as required by the College Board to receive AP certification, including the letter from the College Board stating this class is accepted by them for the 2014-15 school year. This request has been completed. Mr. George Gross of Midlothian, Illinois requested copies of expenses for Dr. Kendall and board members for the last 2 years. This request has been completed. For my superintendent's report, student representatives from all 4 schools attended a workshop yesterday at Hillcrest High School. The students shared their opinions, thoughts, and ideas regarding our schools in terms of finance, academic rigor, college preparation, and overall thoughts about what we do well and where we can improve. The students were invited to attend a second workshop to prepare for the Students in Leadership Board meeting on January 20th. In the days ahead, our students will be taking final exams, and Friday will be the last day of school for winter break. On behalf of the Board of Education, Administration, and all staff at Bremen District 228, I'd like to thank our entire school community for a successful first semester and wish everyone a happy and safe holiday. School resumes on January 5th, and we look forward to another successful semester. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Kendall. Any board member reports? Yes, Dave.
Just an update on the treasurer's office. Because we're
pooling our investments with the other districts in the area. We're currently outperforming 3-year treasury notes, 1-year treasury notes, and 6-month certificates of deposits. Even though our pooled funds have a weighted maturity of less than 1 year, we're averaging about 1.35%. And we were also made aware that health insurance premiums are expected to go up 9 to 15% in 2018. So that could be a concern for all the schools.
What percent was that?
9 to 15. That's all I have.
Anything else?
I would just like to wish everyone a happy holiday season and a happy new year. And happy New Year.
Let's move along to committee reports. Mr. Brown, Finance.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Finance Committee met on Monday, December 8th, at 7:15 p.m. All board members of the Finance Committee were present: Mr. Brown, Mr. Canning, Mr. Gleason, and Mr. O'Malley. We had guests at our meeting: Mr. Kirkin, Mrs. Jones, Mr. Stearns, Pastor Mensing, and Dr. Tyndall. There was no one from the public. There was no old business, and under new business, the bills that were presented were reviewed and discussed for the December bills for the in-person expenditures and deposits. The items were also reviewed by the superintendent, who, along with the Finance Committee, is recommending full board approval this evening of these bills, in-person funds, and deposits. There were no over $5,000 purchase orders. Under the Career Development System bills, these were bills for December totaling $188,066.34. These items were also reviewed by the superintendent along with the Finance Committee, who is recommending full board approval of the December Board of Education meeting. The Finance Committee reviewed the spring athletic equipment supply bid. The district received bids from 9 different vendors. The superintendent, along with the Finance Committee, is recommending approval of the low bids totaling $28,929.97 to the Board of Education. Under the tax abatement resolution, the Finance Committee reviewed and discussed the resolution pertaining to the 3 phases of the Country Club Hills development: the Lowe's Theater, Walmart, and Country Club Plaza, located at 167th and Pulaski. In prior years, the Board of Education has signed agreements abating 50% of the taxes for a 10-year period on these properties. This is the final year for the Lowe's abatement. Walmart has 1 more year of abatement remaining, and the board recently entered into a new 10-year agreement with the Country Club Plaza abating 40% of the taxes. The superintendent, along with the Finance Committee, is recommending full board approval of these abatement resolutions. The Finance Committee reviewed and discussed the 2014 aggregate levy. The 2014 levy of $52,775,200 total cap funds will be less than a 5% increase over last year's levy and will not require a public hearing prior to the adoption of the final levy. This year's CPI, which limits the ability to increase the levy, is 1.5%. The aggregate levy represents changes from the 2014 tentative levy, adding $2.5 million in new property taxes, $2.5 million in new property for the Country Club Hills TIF that has expired. The superintendent, along with the Finance Committee, is recommending full board approval of the 2014 aggregate levy, along with the associated resolution. PTAB. The Finance Committee reviewed and discussed the PTAB for Edward Palaka. The attorney is recommending a full appraisal of the property to prevent a potential revenue loss of over $16,000. The appraisal cost will be $4,000, which will be shared with also with District 145. Finance Committee has discussed this matter, and along with the superintendent, is recommending full appraisal, which will cost the district $2,000. Finance Committee reviewed and discussed the cell tower lease with T-Mobile. The lease calls for the installation of a step cell light tower at Hillcrest High School. The tower would replace the existing light tower on the southwest side of the stadium. The tower will have no visible cell pods, as they will be embedded inside the pole. The tower will generate $2,000 of new revenue per month, for a total of $24,000 for the year. The district will also have future potential for revenue if additional carriers decide to co-locate on the pole. One of the committee members inquired about the notification of neighboring residents and suggested delaying the project. Mr. O'Malley stated that he would look into this and inform the committee. If the project could not be delayed, the recommendation was to move forward. Finance Committee reviewed and discussed the situation pertaining to the current benefits management for health, dental, and life insurance. Two companies, Mesro Financial and the Horton Group, were interviewed by district staff, and Dr. Kendall stated that based on the process, the services to be delivered, and a 10% reduction, Mesro proposal was selected. The Finance Committee, along with the superintendent, is recommending Mesro Financial for full board approval. Our next board meeting, Finance Committee, will be Monday, January 12th at 7 p.m. at the Administration Center. The meeting is adjourned at 8:08 p.m.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. Teaching and learning, Mr. Menson.
I hope you can hear me. I'm down with bronchitis for about 2 weeks now. I'm just on my way back. Down but not out.
You're vertical still, so.
Class size committee and teaching and learning committee of the board, we met on Tuesday, December 9th at 7 p.m. at the Ad Center. Present were from the committee, your reporter, Pastor Anthony, Mr. Brown, and Dr. Williams. Mrs. Stearns was not able to attend. Guests at the meeting were Mr. Larry Canning of the board, Dr. Sikora, Mr. Paul Rabarczyk of Bremen, Mr. Stanley Aros, Mr. Rhonda Krako, Mr. Tom Monahan, Mr. Kevin Donegan, Mr. John Caney, Mr. Greg Fitch, representing our schools. There were no comments from the public. The Teaching and Learning Committee met with the members of the Class Size Committee to review student enrollments in second semester classes. In addition, feedback from the building's JFA representative was provided regarding the first semester courses and the overall sectioning process. This feedback is helpful in sectioning for the upcoming school year. Last, the committee discussed windows for new classes being added next year and the removal of a variety of classes due to lack of enrollment. JFA representatives worked extremely well this year with their respective assistant principal for student services. As a result, many of the overloaded classes were already resolved prior to our meeting. While there are a few issues to be resolved, the JFA representatives provided positive feedback about the process and overall class sizes this year. As a result of analyzing second semester class sizes, it was determined that an additional section of foundations of pre-algebra geometry is needed at Hillcrest. This request will be brought to the full board for approval. Next meeting of our committee will be held on Tuesday, January 13th at 7 p.m. at the Ad Center. The meeting adjourned at 8:10 p.m. Public is always invited to these meetings. Thank you.
Thank you, Pastor Menson. Personnel, Mrs. Gleason.
Thank you, Mr. Kirkton. The Personnel Committee met on Monday, December 8th. Meeting was called to order at 6:30. All members of the committee were present, including myself, Mr. Kirkton, and Mrs. Jones. Under new business, Mr. Godwin presented the following certificated staff employment recommendations. At Bremen, the approval of maternity leave for a science teacher and the employment of an English doctor. At Hillcrest, the approval of the maternity leave for a family consumer science teacher and the acceptance of the resignation of an English tutor, and the approval of the employment of 2 English doctors and an English tutor. After review of all the certificated staff items, the committee agreed to make a recommendation to the full board for approval. Finally, Mr. Goggins presented the following educational support personnel recommendations. At Bremen, the approval of a medical leave request for a custodian, the approval of the employment of 2 part-time weekend custodians and a second shift custodian. At Tinley Park, the acceptance of the resignation of a special education aide and the approval of the employment of a receptionist secretary to the assistant principal. At Oak Forest, the approval of the employment of 2 special education aides. After reviewing the special support personnel items, the committee along with the superintendent are recommending them for full board approval. Next meeting is scheduled for January 12th at 6:30 at the administration.
Thank you, Mrs. Gleason. New business, Mr. O'Malley.
Thank you, Mr. Kirkland. Board members, item 10.1 pertains to our monthly bills, the addendum to bills, the payroll, and the CDS bills. The Finance Committee has reviewed these and along with the superintendent are recommending them to the full board this evening.
Second.
Second by Mrs. Gleason. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Mrs. Gleason?
Aye.
Mr. Canning?
Aye.
Mrs. Jones?
Aye.
Pastor Mensley, aye. Mrs. Stearns? Aye. Mr. Kirkland?
Aye.
Item 10.2 pertains to our spring athletic and supplies bids. The committee and the superintendent are recommending them to the full board this evening.
Second.
By Mrs. Brown, second by Mrs. Gleason. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Mrs. Gleason?
Aye.
Mr. Canning?
Aye.
Mrs. Jones?
Aye.
Pastor Mensley, aye. Mrs. Stearns?
Aye.
Mr. Kirkland?
Aye.
Item 10.3 pertains to the 3 tax abatement resolutions for Country Club Hills. They include the AMC Lowe's, the Walmart, and the Country Club Plaza. As Mr. Brown had mentioned, the board last month revised the agreement for the Country Club Plaza and will be abating at 40% for Country Club Plaza as well as 50% for the other 2 locations. We reviewed these items and are recommending them to the full board.
So moved. Second.
Moved by Mr. Canning, second by Pastor Mensley.
I'd just like to.
Yes.
ISB is going to be supporting legislation that TIFs have a time period on them, so community couldn't come back to us time and time again to extend them. I believe it's 26 years, and then that'll be it. That'll force.
That would be great, right, because they go 24 now and then they can extend for 10, so.
Yeah, it'll be stopped at 26.
But it won't affect.
Not in right. They're different.
Any further? Roll call, please.
Mr. Canning?
Aye.
Pastor Mensley, aye. Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Mrs. Gleason?
Aye.
Mrs. Jones?
Aye.
Mrs. Stearns?
Aye.
Mr. Kirkland?
Aye.
Item 10.4 pertains to the PTAB for Edward Palatka. This is for 167th and Lakewood Apartments. The recommendation is for the board to approve the full appraisal costing the district $2,000.
Second.
Mr. Brown, second by Mr. Canning. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Mr. Canning?
Aye.
Mrs. Gleason?
Aye.
Mrs. Jones?
Aye.
Pastor Mensley, aye. Mrs. Stearns?
Aye.
Mr. Kirkland?
Aye.
Item 10.5 is another PTAB represented by Edward Palatka. This one is for the apartments on 147th and Central. Again, the attorneys are recommending that we do a full appraisal to save a revenue loss of over $29,000. The appraisal would cost the district $1,500. We'd split that with District 142. Finance Committee and the superintendent are recommending this appraisal.
Second.
Mr. Brown, second by Mrs. Jones. Roll call, please.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Mrs. Jones?
Aye.
Mr. Canning?
Aye.
Mrs. Gleason?
Aye.
Aye. Mrs. Stearns?
Aye.
Mr. Kirkland?
Aye.
Item 10.6 pertains to another PTAB from Thomas Corsi. This ties to some special commercial properties that are listed at 146th and Kilpatrick. And again, the recommendation is to do an appraisal on these properties. The cost to the district is $1,250 to save a potential revenue loss of over $15,000.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Pastor Benson, second by Mr. Canning. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Pastor Mensley, aye. Mr. Canning?
Aye.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Mrs. Gleason?
Aye.
Mrs. Jones?
Aye.
Mrs. Stearns?
Aye.
Mr. Kirkland?
Aye.
Item 10.7 pertains to our annual aggregate levy. This one is for filing year 2014. The total of our levy for this year was little over $52 million. The Finance Committee has reviewed this several times now through the tentative stage and at the meeting this past Monday, along with the superintendent, we're recommending this levy to the full board. And this does include also new properties for the TIF that's expiring in Country Club Hills as well, so we capture the revenue there.
This resolution has to be read into the record, Mr.
Please.
I move to approve the certification of tax levy for the 2014 taxes in the amount of $52,775,300 as presented, and the related resolutions pertaining to the 2014 tax levy. These items will be submitted to the Cook County Tax Extension Office, where the amount to be levied for bond and interest will be added.
Second.
Moved by Pastor Lindsay, second by Mrs. Gleason. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Pastor Mendick, aye. Mrs. Gleason.
Aye.
Mr. Brown.
Aye.
Mr. Candy.
Aye.
Mrs. Jones.
Aye.
Mrs. Stearns.
Aye.
Mr. Curry.
Aye.
Item 10.8 pertains to the cell tower lease with T-Mobile that's to be located at Hillcrest High School. I did follow up with T-Mobile after we had our Finance Committee meeting, and in terms of the extension, posed a problem because T-Mobile sets their construction budgets based on the leases that they have for 2014 calendar year. So there's no guarantee that if the board pushed this out, that any construction dollars would be able to be fitted into the budget for the upcoming year. With that being the case, the recommendation from the committee was to put that to the full board this evening. So along with the Finance Committee and the superintendent, we're recommending the cell tower to move forward to the full board.
So,
Second.
Comment.
Moved by Mr. Brown, second by Mrs. Gleason. Any comments?
Yeah, I have some issues with this. I would ask, and I'm recommending to the board that we table this item. And I understand what Mr. O'Malley said about the time frame T-Mobile is set on it because of their budget. I feel like we need to get word out to those people in that area that the tower is going to be in, and that's the Hazel Crest area by the football field. I believe that they should know about this in paper form, maybe a note in their mailbox or what have you. I just don't think we should approve this without them knowing it. I am for the revenue stream, and I commend Mr. O'Malley and everybody involved with trying to get new revenue in the district. Obviously, we need that. I just think we're rushing into it. I feel like my back is against the wall with T-Mobile. Obviously, they're a big company, and if their budget is the problem, I'm sure that they can wait a few weeks while we get some of this information out to our stakeholders in the district. So again, I'm asking them to table this and just take a little time on the record. I'm for it, but I'm also for letting the constituents and stakeholders know what's going on with having a cell tower in their backyard. That's one of the issues I have. The other issues I have is that if this is approved, one of those poles are going to be metal. The other 3 poles remaining are going to be wood. Okay, aesthetically, that's not going to look very nice, I wouldn't think. So I was wondering if we could also talk with T-Mobile and figure something out about having those other 3 poles changed out. So,
Are you making a motion to table then?
yes, I am.
Is there a second?
And please have, Lori, I believe that you do, please have my statement written into the notes, please. Thank you.
I have one. How many houses are we talking that are authorized?
The houses?
Yeah, that are, it goes a curve.
I was there yesterday, there's quite a few. I wanted to see for myself what exactly the people living there would see. And I was on the phone with Tom while I was there, and there's quite a few houses. Because obviously they're both sides of the road can see the tower, it's awful high, or the light stack that's there now, okay, is awful high, they can see it. So obviously, I don't know, and again, we don't have any facts. How high is this new tower? Is it gonna be taller than the current light stand that's there now?
It's approximately 150 feet, which is gonna be
Substantially
about
higher.
10 feet, 20 feet taller than
Okay,
the
okay.
existing tower.
We don't know when, from the time we tell them to go ahead to when it's gonna be done is what?
We haven't set a firm date on
So I
that
don't
yet.
s-
So they're, once T-Mobile gathers all their leases, that they're gonna move forward with, they'll set construction schedules for their various sites.
So do
We haven't
we have
got
time
that.
to let these people know what's going on, right? Identify,
Well,
there's like 20 houses.
again, I've
quite a
been
few,
in
yeah.
communication with T-Mobile a number of times, and the issue that we face is if we don't approve in this calendar year, there's two things that can happen. One is they'll look to locate that site somewhere else nearby and provide that revenue stream to whoever's willing to do that. Or two, if they stay with the site, they may not be for a year or be kicked down the line in terms of when they fund the construction budget if we are to come back at a later month and approve the lease. You know, it could be next year, it could be 5 years down the line. I don't know the answer to that as to when that would take place.
And I'm confused, this is already previously approved though.
Correct. In 2011, the board had approved this lease with T-Mobile. T-Mobile never carried it out because at the time then, there was discussion about buyout of AT&T buying out T-Mobile. So the construction leases that were signed, they didn't come to fruition because they weren't funded because of that potential buyout situation. So it has been put on hold until I was contacted again back in July by T-Mobile about bringing this project forward. And we've been going back and forth, been spending a lot of time doing a lot of research on it, making sure that the lease was tight and was in our favor in terms of the district being able to control who could access that pole, who could collate on the pole, and making sure that we had control over those matters.
Does this project require any sort of approval from Hazel Crest or Country Club Hills?
My understanding is there is a permit process that has to be completed through Country Club Hills. Now, that permit process has been completed once and approved, but I think it has to be revisited again.
But does that permit process require them to notify the people that would be living adjacent to it, or
I don't know
what
the answer to that,
process it
Mr. Kirk.
involves?
I don't know the answer to that.
See, my problem is there's too many unanswered questions with this. Again, I'm in favor of new revenue for the district. I'm just not in favor of pulling something over the eyes of our stakeholders at this point. And that's kind of what I feel that we would be doing here, without giving them the opportunity to review any information about that cell tower.
Would you oppose to, maybe will it be our, webcast or, Facebook or anything like that?
I wouldn't be opposed to any kind of information getting out to those people. I am more in favor of paper just because, you know, if somebody doesn't have access to the internet, and I understand there's a lot of people that do these days, but, you know, I think we owe it to them, at least in paper form.
At least those houses.
Could I make a suggestion? If the board were to move forward and approve the lease tonight, then we could take some time and notify people.
Yeah, that's
We
right.
don't necessarily have to turn it over to T-Mobile right away. I mean, we can try to
That's where I was going.
delay that process.
So
And I
what
guess-
would be the outcome of that, as far as if we approved the lease, we could still go ahead and put that up against the objections of any stakeholders in the area, correct?
Well, I guess, I don't know what the process would be if we had two objections to moving forward. Would that be enough for the board to say we're not gonna do it? Or would we require a certain percentage of those people that surround that property?
That's something I think that this board could discuss.
But then doesn't that also involve the whole constituency who see the value with the income?
I think everything needs to be on a table for these people in terms of what's at stake, okay? And then that's what I'm getting at. I just think that information needs to be get out.
I did get some information today from T-Mobile. There's hundreds of these towers throughout the Chicagoland area that are located at grammar schools, high schools, and university facilities. So there's hundreds of them. In terms of one of the concerns that we talked about was the radio frequency levels being harmful. The cell tower emits significantly lower amounts of radio frequency levels. They compare that to, it's 8 times less than those emitted from a crib-side bed baby monitor. So in terms of that, I think there's plenty of data and research to support that is not an issue. And again, as I mentioned before, I have one located 15 feet from my personal home, and I certainly did the research on that before. Not that I could control it, but I did research that when I found out that it was going in.
Well, Tom, I can respect that you have 115 feet from your home, but there is nobody at this horseshoe table that is going to be pulling into that area tonight, into the driveway to any one of those residents, okay? So I want to reiterate, I believe that the people in that area should be aware of this before we go ahead with this project. I am in full agreement that the money is excellent, no doubt about it. I just believe that they should be aware.
And the other added benefit, that I saw with this project was that this particular tower is protected. So any radio frequency that would be emitted or anything like that would also be protected by that double layer of shielding around the satellites. That just a little small research that I did. And then actually that area, I believe, you could correct me if I'm wrong, is a lower cell area where you don't get as much frequency when you go by that area. And so it's like a dead zone.
I have T-Mobile. I talked to Tom in a full conversation yesterday.
You get more. I'm just thinking about the benefits, just for the board to notice the benefits, maybe for the community, that it would increase the level of frequency for their cell phones for the added benefit, maybe to the people of the community. So I think, in essence, that might be a little bit of a benefit, more so than just the amount of money that we're receiving for it, but it also be a benefit to the community to have that extra tower. I know I love it when I could have full power on my cell phone in the area, so maybe that's one of the benefits. I don't know. I'm not saying we should notify the community, maybe by internet and different things like that, and use our resources effectively and efficiently.
Given that there's been no second of the motion to table, I'm going to call the question. Your objection, concerns duly noted. So is Mr. Brown and Mrs. Gleason,
Motion to table is dropped. Okay. Roll call.
yes, sir.
Mr. Brown? Mrs. Gleason?
Aye.
Mr. Canning?
No.
Mrs. Jones?
Aye.
Mr. Menzik, aye. Mrs. Stern?
Aye.
Mr. Kirkland?
Aye.
Item 10.9 pertains to the insurance management services. As Mr. Brown mentioned, currently we have Gallagher for those services, and we're looking for a company to provide some additional services. We've interviewed several of the top brokers available. Dr. Kendall led those, and his recommendation, along with the Finance Committee, is to appoint Mesero Financial as our new broker to provide brokerage services for our health insurance, our dental insurance, as well as our life insurance.
Second. Mr. second by Mr. Brown. Discussion. Roll call, please.
Mr. Menzik, aye. aye. Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Mr. Canning?
Aye.
Mrs. Gleason?
Aye.
Mr. Jones?
Aye.
Mrs. Stern?
Aye.
Mr. Kirkland?
Aye. Dr. Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Kirkton. Item 10.10 is an additional section request. Based on current class sizes and enrollments for second semester, Hillcrest is requesting an additional section of Foundations of Pre-Algebra and Geometry. This is the self-contained special education class with a state mandated class size. Currently, the class has 18 students, which is 5 over the limit. The Teaching and Learning Committee, along with the superintendent, is recommending the addition of this math section for full board approval.
So,
Second.
Brown, second by Mrs. Gleason. Discussion. Roll call, please.
Mr. Brown?
aye.
Mrs. Gleason?
Aye.
Mr. Canning?
Aye.
Mr. Jones?
Aye.
Mr. Minzig, aye. Mrs. Stern?
Aye.
Mr. Kirkland?
Aye. Guidance, personnel.
Sir, under 1011, for resignations, Gina DeGulio, Lynn Leonard, and Jacqueline Rauch. Under leaves, Rebecca Haustein, Leah Rosenthal, and Carl Schwartz. Under employment, Gina DeGulio, Jacqueline Rauch, Jacqueline Julian, Lauren Howard, Lily T. Holman, Matthew Kentner, Joshua Martinez, Raina Battle Singleton, Luke Sakal, D'Angelo Fletcher. Under change of position, Alex Culver, and under retirement, Bonnie Mutry. The board's personnel committee met on December 8th. They reviewed the many certified and support staff items on the agenda. These items are now being recommended to the full board for approval.
So
Oh,
moved.
second.
Moved by Mrs. Gleason, second by Pastor Menson. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Gleason?
Aye.
Pastor Minzig, aye. Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Mr. Canning?
Aye.
Mrs. Jones?
Aye.
Mrs. Stern?
Aye.
Mr. Kirkland?
Aye. Looking for motion to move to closed session, consider information regarding negotiations.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mrs. Gleason, second by Mr. Cannon. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Gleason?
Aye.
Canning?
Aye.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Mr. Jones?
Aye.
Mr. Minzig, aye. Mrs. Stern?
Aye.
Aye.